Welcome to Tea, Toast, and Trivia. Thank you for listening in. I am your host, Rebecca Budd, and I look forward to sharing this moment with you. Short stories hold a unique place in literature, offering readers a compact yet profound experience. Within a limited word count, a writer can embed complex themes and emotions, often leaving lasting impressions long after the last sentence is read. Short stories entertain, challenge, and enrich our understanding of the world, highlighting the power of narrative in a condensed form. The Grand Adventure by Wallace Peach invites readers into an insightful narrative that explores themes of discovery and personal growth. The Grand Adventure by Wallace Peach. Miss Marsh peered through her spectacles at the final document the solicitor placed on the sunny table. A mild breeze ruffled the garden, and her morning tea cooled in a rose-rimmed fairyland cup that matched the blooms entwining her arbor. I sat beside my dear friend on a wrought iron chair, dressed in a buttercup pinafore that complemented the ribbon in her hat. And while she studied the papers, I watched the river's mist drift like gold dust beyond the bayberry hedge. As was my way, I offered no commentary and simply enjoyed the company. "I merely wish to ensure all is in order." Miss Marsh squinted at her will's fine print. "I'm turning 93 tomorrow, Mr. Shyster, and—" "Schulster, ma'am," the solicitor corrected her with a saint's patience, as he had for years. "Apologies, how forgetful of me." Miss Marsh tittered and gave me a sly smile. "I'm quite satisfied with my beneficiaries. They've managed my home and gardens for decades, but liquidating an entire estate requires a different skill set. I trust you will help them sort it out at our usual fee." "I'd be honored to assist." The solicitor collected the document and tapped it into an envelope with the others. "Any plans for the happy day?" he said. Miss Marsh glanced my way before replying. "Tomorrow, Molly and I are going on a grand adventure." The solicitor regarded me, as he always did, as someone who didn't quite belong in Miss Marsh's life. I gave him my usual smile, my face schooled into one of utter contentment. "Yes, well," he said, "I wish you both a wonderfully grand adventure." After Mr. Schulster departed, Miss Marsh topped off our tea. We reviewed our plans for the big day, and when the afternoon warmed to the level of wilting, we retired to our room for a nap. But I didn't sleep. Propped on a pillow on the window seat, I watched the river drift by and contemplated our journey, wishing I'd spoken up. Though Miss Marsh's thoughts regarding our adventure brimmed with enthusiasm, there was a curious undercurrent that gave me pause. Our 4 o'clock tea followed its ordinary routine, except for a surprise cake with 12 candles arranged in 2 groups, one of 9 and the other of 3. Miss Marsh clapped her hands at their cleverness and gave the estate's entire staff the evening off and the next day too. I smiled throughout the festivities, likely the only one with dry eyes, though my heart cracked open with happiness. Once left to ourselves, my friend and I packed a picnic basket with cheese, sandwiches, biscuits, and bottles of lemonade. Clothes were laid out for the boating, including rain slickers. Like a pair of hoodlums, we broke the rusty lock on the boat shed with a brick, and Miss Marsh dragged 2 oars to the rowboat, losing one in the river right off the bat. She shrugged as it drifted downstream. "Well, that was silly of me. I expect one will suffice. We'll simply let the river do the work." I said nothing, unwilling to dampen her enjoyment with my skepticism, though I couldn't help wondering how we'd get home. We scarcely slept that night. Miss Marsh's eyes shone like slivers of stars as she whispered into the darkness, "At the mouth of the sea, mermaids will harness our boat to watery horses with curling white manes. They'll pole our prow around the Horn of Africa to India. There we'll ride elephants, and when the moon is full, we'll dress in beautiful saris decorated with mirrors and dance beneath the giant banyan trees. Would you like that? Your life will be one of wonderful new adventures." "And what about your life?" I wanted to ask. "Wouldn't we travel together as we always had?" But she'd fallen asleep. I watched over her, her breath soft on my ear, her eyelids as thin as petals. I wish I could stroke her cheek and smooth her snowy hair, but I lay still so as not to wake her. When dawn powdered the horizon with saffron, and the breeze trailed golden ribbons across the river, Miss Marsh, dressed in pink gardening trousers and a white cardigan, she tied a bow at her throat to keep her hat from flipping into the water should the day grow blustery. I wore my yellow pinafore, as I did every day. While the sun blazed behind the hills, we made a big show of stealing down to the boat, our picnic basket in tow. Miss Marsh let me sit in the front. "You shall have the best view, Molly, but you must keep an eye open for rocks, crocodiles, and waterfalls." I wanted to laugh and tell her there were no crocodiles in England. She climbed in behind me, umphing and oompsing, and for a moment I feared she'd fall in. Then suddenly we were off, Miss Marsh slapping the water with her lone oar, and with great effort steering us from the shore. "Well," she said, "I think I managed that quite well, don't you? Now we will fill our eyes with this beautiful world, our hearts with friendship, and our souls with peace." And that was what we did. As we drifted on the river, Miss Marsh told me the stories of her youth in India, many of her memories making us laugh. She wiped away tears as she told me about falling in love and losing her young man in the war. She talked fondly of departed friends, of traveling and discovering, and of trying in small ways to make the world better for children. And for most of those stories, I'd been there too, sometimes as her inseparable companion, and sometimes waiting for her to remember me. I've had such a marvelous life, Molly. I wanted to have this day to remember it, every part of it. Thank you for being my lifelong companion and for joining me on my birthday. She placed a biscuit in my hand, and her eyes wrinkled at the corners. You know, my dear, one of these days will be my last, and I'm perfectly at ease with that fact. I've made arrangements for you with Mr. Shyster, so you'll have no fear about your future. My future? I couldn't imagine a life without her. Questions I couldn't ask unspooled in my head. And when she said no more on the subject, I smiled, wishing her many more years of birthdays. We ate our biscuits and drank lemonade, and in the comfortable silence of those who know each other well, we watched the afternoon fade into twilight. Distant homes blinked on their fairy lights, and a crescent moon smiled at her reflection in the water. Then the sky unfurled a vast black coverlet littered with stars as precious as diamonds. Aren't they beautiful? Miss Marsh said. Wouldn't it be lovely to end as we began, as stars? And with that wish, she was gone. I felt her leave, the slow, soft exhalation of breath as she slumped to her side on the seat. I waited. More than any other moment in my life, I wanted to utter a cry, to speak her name. I wanted to call her back and tell her not to leave me, to take me with her into the sparkling night sky, that I was nothing without her but wood and wire and string, to tell her I loved her. But my smile remained unchanged, my lips, all parts of me, frozen in place. Our boat drifted through the night and into the next dawn when a motored vessel came alongside. Men called to each other in official voices and spoke into radios. 2 of them clambered into our boat to tend Miss Marsh, moving me aside with our picnic basket, pushing and nudging until unnoticed, I flipped over the edge into the water. They didn't hear my soft plunk, or see my ripples, or watch the current carry me farther and farther away. Hope seemed a futile thing. Floating downstream, my body drifted onward, past curious kingfishers and posing herons, through a sun-dappled forest and into a sandstone gorge, where the water turned white and tumultuous. My pinafore caught on a stick wedged between 2 rocks, and my adventure ended. I lay in the sluice of water for a winter. My pinafore turned green with algae. The fine finish on my legs and arms cracked and grew brittle. Little by little, my hair thinned and fell out, and my painted eyes fainted. I lost my smile. I missed Miss Marsh and understood what it was to age, to wait for my end. How long would it take for my hinges to rust, my dress to tatter into threads, my limbs to weather into sticks? Then a face looked down at me, blinking, lips puckered in consternation. A child picked me up between her thumb and forefinger. Balancing on a rock, she peered over her shoulder. "Mom, look what I found!" "Oh," Mom said, "put it down." "No, let me have it, and I'll throw it in the trash bin. Bring it here. What is it?" "It's a doll," the child said, holding me up for inspection. I tried to smile, but my face held nothing of its contentment. "Can we clean her off?" "She needs more than cleaning." "Can we at least try?" "She's quite old." Mom turned me over. "They don't make dolls like this anymore. But she'd need a lot of work, and we're leaving tomorrow." Tears welled in the child's eyes. Her chin quivered, and though Mum made small cooing sounds, there were too many tears for the child's lashes to catch. "I don't want to go," she whispered. "I know, darling, but we've talked about this. You must think of it as an adventure. You'll go to a new school and make new friends." And suddenly, after months of loneliness, my longing awakened, and I understood what Miss Marsh had wished for me. I looked through my worn eyes at the child. "I'm Molly," I tried to say. With all my heart, I wanted her to know my name, to know I was here, waiting for someone, for her, to go on a grand adventure, to celebrate birthdays and listen to memories, to wear saris and learn to dance beneath the giant banyan trees. Mom sighed and tousled her child's hair. "What do you say we take her with us? Once we reach Calcutta, we can sand out the rough spots and purchase some lacquer. We can paint a new face and fix her smile. Perhaps a new pinafore and fancy hat instead of hair." The child's face lit up. "Her name is Molly, and I already love her." And just like Miss Marsh, she clapped her hands.